Hello? Okay, yeah. Hello, I am Avery or Hazel or Kylie,
Hello, I am Lily.
and welcome to the From the Closet podcast. Today we are covering Captain America Civil War. It feels like it's been ages. Did we cover Ant-Man early?
Um, I think so.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, we did.
in terms of people listening, it won't have made a difference, but it felt like we recorded Ant-Man early because of how long it feels like it's been since then. But yeah,
God, yeah, it feels long.
wow. Phrasing. But anyway, you can join us.
No, wait, no, stop thinking that.
You can join us next week for Zootopia and Amphibia Season 2. Uh, you can join us next month for Doctor Strange. Jesus. This podcast will contain spoilers for Captain America Civil War. If you'd like to avoid spoilers, there is a link below in the description to Just Watch. And on Just Watch, there will be links to every single place you can rent, purchase, or stream this movie. Um, it is currently available on Disney Plus if you're in the United States, and probably in most other countries as well. But I don't know. So anyway, our Just Watch link is to the U.S. version of the site. However, if you use the app, it will redirect you to your country's page automatically. And if you use the website, you can change the country from the website page. Also in the description is a link to our Patreon where you can vote on future episodes of this show and get access to episodes early, as well as early access to episodes of our sister show, Off the Shelf, which is about books. That podcast is exclusive to YouTube and Patreon. And I really need to get around to recording episode 2. It's been fucking ages. But anyway, also in the description is a link to Anchor.fm, which itself has links to every platform this podcast is on, as well as links to our Instagram and Twitter, where you can be notified when we release a new episode. And that does it. If you'd like to avoid spoilers, please get out now. Okay, so
Captain America did some things.
How to feel about this movie is I would say it is better than the first Avenger, not as good as Winter Soldier.
Okay. In some aspects, I can see where that is. Where we're coming with that.
I might put this in the top 10 of the MCU as a whole, collectively, not just out of what we've seen.
I cannot physically do that because I still have more movies to go through.
You can physically do that because at this point you have seen 13 movies.
Oh, damn. I mean, I would still want to cover more movies before I decide I want to rate all of them.
Yeah, like right now, I think my top movies in the MCU, number 1 is obviously Avengers Infinity War, and then number 2 is Civil War. I think at number 3, I might put Spider-Man Spider-Man No Way Home probably goes there, and then number 4 is maybe Doctor Strange.
I love Spider-Man Home trilogy.
Ah, yes, the Home trilogy. I mean, I'm getting to the
He's just progressively getting farther away from his home.
Yeah. But, I mean, okay, so this movie, I do think it's really good. I think it's a shame that people don't really talk about this movie as being a movie where the heroes lose. Because I don't see Iron Man as the villain in this movie. I see Zemo as the villain in this movie. And he achieves his goal. Like, he actually succeeds. He gets... the Avengers are torn apart from here on, and this has massive repercussions. And
that is true, yeah.
And another thing too is like the whole reason they're torn apart. It's not so. We start off with the Sokovia Accords, which is its own thing. And like, of course, they have disagreements over it. And like, even now, it's been what, 8 years since this movie came out? People are still debating who was on the right side of the Sokovia Accords. Because on one,
Is like, sorry, I just want to know, like, will we see, like, will that get just destroyed, or will we see more of that?
both.
Okay.
But yeah, people in the real world are still debating over who was right on this case, because like both perspectives make sense. Tony feels responsible for the events of Age of Ultron, as he should, because they were his fault, and he should be in prison for them. But that's my take. And then Cap,
He's rich.
but then Cap feels that like if they put themselves under the eyes of people with agendas, they might not be able to do what needs to be done, and they might be forced to do things that they don't want to do.
I will say, like, I have my own opinions on this movie, but if I want to start off with good points, I will definitely, like, just howl this for the night and day about how this movie really does get you to think. To take sides.
Yeah. I think one of the problems of this movie is where some characters' actions make no sense. In the context of how they feel about the Sokovia Accords. So Tony, he's like in this movie, Tony's supposed to be trying to be more responsible and stuff, and then he recruits a teenager into a fight with Avengers.
Huh.
That's not very responsible, is it?
I I guess you can argue in one way that this entire thing was clouding his judgment, but like, really, Tony?
Yeah.
No, I think middle of the movie he really did think about that, like when Spider-Man got hurt, and that's why he said, "Don't, just don't follow him."
Yeah, he was like, "You're done. Stay low. Stay out of it." And then, like, eventually, Peter Parker himself realizes, yeah, actually, I am kind of too hurt to continue.
Yeah.
But then the other character who
their
doesn't.
relation. Sorry, I just want to interject. Their relationship, Spider-Man and Iron Man. I've seen a lot of stuff online, and I'm starting to wonder if like it. I'll be closely following that that dynamic.
Yeah, it is a very interesting relationship. It's something we never got in like in either the Tobey Maguire films or in the Andrew Garfield films, because they didn't have the rights to Iron Man. And to be fair, they didn't have the rights to Doctor Strange either, but apparently Doctor Strange exists in the Tobey Maguire universe. So that's a thing.
Really?
I mean, J. Jonah Jameson literally mentions him by name.
Hot damn.
In the first movie.
Wait, hold on a second. Is there gonna be a J. Jonah Jameson's in the Spider-Man Homecoming?
No.
Fuck. I cry. I weep.
Yeah, he's definitely not in
Anyway.
Spider-Man Homecoming. But anyway. So, the other character who their actions don't make sense to me is Scott Lang, Ant-Man. Why on earth would he join Team Cap after the events of Ant-Man when he's trying to avoid getting in trouble with the law so that he can be in his daughter's life? this doesn't make sense.
That's true. Though there's two things I'm wondering. First, how much does Ant-Man know about the Scutodia Accord?
See, here's a big problem. Because he used their tech, Hope and Hank are now implicated in his crimes.
Yeah.
So,
And also, because of the other person, Hank, I believe, he doesn't like Stark.
right. And that was
And
brought.
any team that Stark is on, he would probably want to be on the opposite.
Pretty much, yeah. Although I don't necessarily agree that he'd want to be on the complete opposite. Like, I'm pretty sure both would have fought Thanos if it came to that, if Hank was even still a superhero at that time. You know, I don't think Hank would be trying to help Thanos.
That's true. But I don't know how to phrase that, but I feel like you know what I mean.
They don't like each other. That's the gist of it. And it's mostly because Hank
Basically.
doesn't like Howard Stark. So therefore, he doesn't like Tony Stark because reasons.
But the funny part about that is Hank doesn't like Howard Stark, and that's one thing that Tony Stark and Howard can both agree on.
Well, I don't even necessarily know that that's the case. Tony doesn't feel as attached to his father, but it's very clear throughout all of this that he has mixed emotions regarding his father.
True, but I actually remember one of the scenes in this movie where it's like, you killed my mother.
Yeah, he's a lot more attached to his mother.
And sometimes he either mentions his parents or his mother alone, but he's never specifically mentioned that, what he did to his father, or at least I can't remember.
And I guess it's fair. I guess another thing to point out is like people have asked, how did Steve know about Tony's parents' death? You remember?
That
That is a very interesting question, and the movie's already provided an answer.
Oh.
Yeah. So you remember in Captain America: The Winter Soldier when they went down to when Cap and Natasha went down to an old S.H.I.E.L.D. facility where Captain America was trained, and they met the Arnim Zola AI.
Mm-hmm.
During that scene, on the screen, they flash like a lot of different things, and one of the things that is flashed on the screen is a newspaper detailing the deaths. Well, not really detailing, but there was a newspaper headline that talked about the deaths of Howard and Maria Stark. So at this point, Steve knows that Tony's parents were killed by Hydra. He just didn't know it was Bucky.
Oh, okay. So that's what he meant was like, I did know.
Yeah. So that's the thing that
that's
yeah.
It's a little bit dark. So why did Hydra want him gone?
Well, I mean, Howard Stark was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
so is that how they got in? By killing him?
Well, I mean, to be fair, Hydra was getting in before that, because Zola was one of the first few members recruited in through Operation Paperclip. And he was the director of Hydra for a while. But obviously, he did.
He very did.
But yeah, so there's also a timeline error in this movie, and I have to bring it up.
Oh, right, yeah.
So Vision, in a particular line of dialogue, he says it has been 8 years since Iron Man revealed himself at. No, I think he says 8 years since Tony Stark revealed himself as Iron Man. No, it hasn't. It has been 6. Actually, maybe 5. I need to look at the timeline. I have it written down somewhere, but I am gonna look at the timeline just because pretty much anytime you
How many?
hear the term 8 years in Phase 3, assume it's bullshit.
Oh, okay. Wait, yeah, that's also a very specific line because it also said 8 years later in what
Yeah,
one of the Spider-Man.
yeah. I told Lily recently about how there is a time card in Spider-Man: Homecoming that says 8 years later. That is also bullshit. Okay, so Captain America: Civil War does take place in 2016. I was right. It has been 6 years since Iron Man, because Iron Man's in 2010.
What's with that? Why 8 in particular? That's my question.
Because the when Iron Man takes place has been retconned a number of times. Um, Originally it was 2008, and then it was retconned to 2009, and then it was retconned again into 2010. 2010
They just
absolutely makes
cannot keep it. Yeah, they just cannot keep that story straight.
2010 absolutely makes the most sense.
And in Spider-Man's case,
In Spider-Man's case, I don't know what they were doing. I mean,
probably crack.
that I think that was on the crew that made that movie because that just did not make sense at all. Like the Avengers took place in 2012. It's always taken place in 2012. So Spider-Man: Homecoming claiming it was 8 years ago is weird.
Hmm. Okay then.
So something I do want to point out though is this movie does establish that Spider-Man, like that Peter Parker has been acting as Spider-Man for 6 months. So that means
That
that for
is
six,
very interesting.
yeah, that means that for 6 months he's been Spider-Man. We also don't see Uncle Ben. We see Aunt May, and I'll say this: we haven't seen Uncle Ben yet. I don't
Yeah, I'm
even
gonna assume that he's dead.
I don't even know if he existed in this reality.
He does. I feel like Spider-Man, like something that Spider-Man said, really does allude to. Um,
See, I was going to touch on this thing Spider-Man said because it was so obvious to
uh,
me that they were trying to avoid saying with great power comes great responsibility. And I know why now, like now, why they were trying to avoid it, and I can't really say why. But I mean,
I thought it was just something to do with Sony.
no. I mean, to be fair, Sony kind of worked on that movie.
Hmm.
Like the Spider-Man movies that are in the MCU are a joint effort of Marvel Studios and Sony.
So,
So
how is Spider-Man's role in future movies now?
we don't know because the events of No Way Home complicate things. That's all I can say because I don't want to spoil No Way Home.
I mean, legally.
Legally speaking, they still have a licensing agreement with Sony, as far as I know. So Sony can still
Hmm.
keep making Spider-Man movies, and the MCU will still have Spider-Man movies, from what I know.
Okay.
So yeah, I question whether or not Tom Holland will still be Spider-Man. I hope so, Um, but I mean, there were some
He's a
major
good Spider-Man.
problems. Yeah, there were some major problems. The fact that they weren't paying him that much compared to other actors in the MCU. And like at the time of No Way Home, he had been in let's see, Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Infinity War, Endgame, Far From Home, and No Way Home. That's 6 movies.
Big budget movies too.
Yeah, big budget movies. Some of them topping the charts and becoming some of the highest grossing movies of all time.
If
And
he stopped right now, there's a lot of companies that would just be like wanting to scoop him up.
like this is a thing that I think it would be from the sound of things, it was a tough decision for him to make to like actually ask them to pay him more because like from everything he has said, he's wanted to play Spider-Man since he was a kid.
hmm I think if I had to guess, maybe they're even abusing that sort of logic, so to where, oh, you've always wanted this, right? Yeah, we can continue paying you like shit. Like they're not respecting who he is now.
Yeah, they're not respecting the talent, they're not respecting the money that he's making them. Um, and it's a problem. I don't know if a deal was ever reached. It's possible, and I just never heard about it. I do know he
I've
doesn't voice.
stopped listening to all of that.
Um, I do know he does not voice Spider-Man in What If, but a lot of characters are not voiced by their like same actors in What If, and then those actors would return for appearances later. So it's a What If
I
is a
guess only time would tell.
yeah, only time will tell. But if there
Uh,
does come a Spider-Man
hmm.
4, I imagine it like unless the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 4 happens, which it's kind of up in the air right now whether or not that's going to happen.
Hmm.
Um, if we do see a Tom Holland Spider-Man 4, it would be the first Spider-Man series to receive a number 4.
Holy shit, you're right.
There have been
Damn.
talks, like since No Way Home, there have been talks about doing a Spider-Man 4 for Tobey Maguire and a Spider-Man 3 for Andrew Garfield, but they have not
Wait,
happened.
Andrew Garfield only got 2?
Yeah, he only got 2 movies.
That's sad.
Both series actually had a canceled sequel back in the day.
So there was supposed to be a Spider-Man 4?
There was supposed to be a
For
there was supposed to be a Spider-Man 4 and there was supposed to be a The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, The Amazing Spider-Man 3.
there was supposed to be, and it happened, just not a 3.
Yeah. Um, but I do really enjoy Spider-Man in this movie. They give us one scene that indicates that spider sense is a thing because he lands somewhere and then he's like, "Oh God," and then dodges something that was coming at him from behind, which very much indicates spider sense.
Yeah,
Homecoming would not give us any mention of it whatsoever.
that is very sad, especially as like half of his powers.
I wouldn't say so. Superhuman strength, speed, durability, perfect equilibrium, a lot of stuff. I mean, at least in this movie, they establish the webbing is not organic. I will not stop with complaining about the Tobey Maguire universe making the webs actually organic. That is so weird.
I don't know, it just doesn't make that much sense. Like, oh, you got spider powers. Then what do you think people actually associate with spiders that you have to pay extra?
I mean, okay, so something to take note of here, and people often forget it. Peter Parker is a genius. Like, he is really smart.
I have no doubt that he'd be able to make it. I'm just saying, like, that radioactive spider must have been EA cutting half of his powers to do it himself.
Yeah, I think like there's even only one reference to the actual spider at all in the MCU, and it's kind of funny.
Funny.
I think there was only one anyway.
Yeah, I know they did not mention it in this movie.
No, but like let's talk about the other character they set up. They set up Black Panther.
Oh, right. We haven't talked about Black Panther.
I bet
Which,
you were surprised.
damn.
I bet you were surprised as fuck to see that come on screen.
Very. I'm actually. So, when I saw a character that would end up being Black Panther, I was like, why do I feel like that person is going to be the future Black Panther? No, not future is not the word I would describe. It's the now Black Panther.
Yeah, because King T'Chaka had gotten too old at that point in time to be Black Panther, so it was already passed down to T'Challa. But yeah, and played by Chadwick Boseman, and I don't know, his death still kind of hits hard.
Definitely.
Yeah, Chadwick Boseman died in I think 2020 from cancer, actually.
So, like you said, they just passed down like the Black Panther ability, like the costume, I guess, to someone else.
Abilities, and costume.
Um,
Yeah, it was very obvious in the movie that they had to redo things because of Chadwick Boseman's death. But I did really appreciate that.
they
With
couldn't just recast.
yeah, especially for like a major character. Now that said, there is another character in this movie whose actor has died, and they have recast him.
Who's that?
Secretary Ross.
Who?
The main guy who was like telling the Avengers, "Oh, you got to sign," and who was threatening Tony Stark and being like, "Oh, you're lucky you're not in one of these cells." That guy. He was also the
Oh,
general
that
in.
guy.
He was also the general in the Incredible Hulk.
Okay. I have mixed opinions on this one, and they both skew the same way. On the one hand, I don't care enough about this character, so I feel free to recast all they want. On the second hand, I would prefer, if his voice actor died, I would have wanted him to be dead permanently.
See, I disagree because the character is supposed to eventually become the Red Hulk. That's what happens in the comics, anyway. But
Interesting.
so far in the MCU, that has not happened. But yeah, he was played by William Turt, and he died not too long ago. I don't know of what. I could look it up, but I don't want to.
So,
And
do you think this is why that he's being played by a new person? Because they're secretly wanting to use the Red Hulk?
I do actually believe that, yes. But in this movie, he is the Secretary of State for the U.S. In the first movie, remember, he was a general. And they also mentioned that 5 years before this movie, so in 2010, he had a heart attack. Which is weird because that's before the events of The Incredible Hulk, and it's never mentioned in that movie. Not a timeline error, just weird.
Yeah, it's not a timeline error. I don't know what he got a heart attack from, but okay.
But yeah, he was so he was played by William Turt, and he is being replaced, and will now be played by Harrison Ford.
Okay. Um, is there any other? Oh wait, actually, on this topic, I want to ask your opinion on something
Okay, what's that?
because it's actually a little bit relevant. So remember the uh God, so remember that screenshot I sent you last night, early morning about the new Up thing.
Oh, yeah, that.
Um, well, there's a lot of talk about how the voice of Carl's dead. So are they gonna recast him or use his old voice lines and just recycle them?
Either way, it's just content for content's sake. Um,
Yeah, I just want to see like what. There's been people arguing like what's better and what's worse to the actual original uh, person that played him.
I think both are
I want to see your
bad.
opinion on that.
Both are bad.
Honestly, yeah, I really do not feel like they needed to continue the Up franchise.
Yeah. Like, honestly, Doug Days didn't even need to exist either. You
I mean, it
can,
was a nice touch.
I mean, it's fine, but it also feels like content for content's sake.
I mean, a lot of people enjoy that.
It's just
Still, it
something to
did
try to sell
feel.
Disney Plus.
I mean, I don't even know how you could do that, especially with Up. I mean, everyone loves Up, but
I mean,
I feel like anyone.
combine it with other things like Baymax and Zootopia Plus and Monsters at Work, and just
Fair enough.
in general, a
I, I
lot of
need to.
other.
I need to watch. Sorry, I need to watch Zootopia Plus.
Yeah, but
I've been
yeah,
neglecting that.
it just feels like content for content's sake, and part of the MCU in Phase 4 has kind of, well, not necessarily in Phase 4. I think some of the stuff that we're seeing that's going to come out in Phase 5 feels like it's going to be content for content's sake.
Um, like what?
Like Agatha Coven of Chaos. I
Hmm.
don't think Agatha, who was a character in WandaVision, can really hold her own show.
Hmm. I see. I haven't seen WandaVision, but I'll find out eventually.
Yeah, you will. That's going to be fun. So, I also really like how they're kind of starting to set up the relationship between Vision and Wanda in this movie. Like, we see them bonding over like not really understanding their power. Like, Vision doesn't understand the Mind Stone that powers him, and Wanda doesn't understand her power. I'm trying to be vague because they explain more about it later, and I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
But
I mean, just psychic energy is what I would say right now.
yeah, that's you can call it that.
Yes, I can and I will call it that for now.
Yeah, until you actually know what it is, I guess.
Um, is the equivalent of a fucking Espeon.
Okay.
Don't even ask why that was the first psychic Pokemon that came to my head.
I know why it's the first psychic Pokemon that came to your head, Lily.
No, you don't.
Yes,
Fake news.
I do. So, an interesting thing here is that after Civil War, this is where we should have gotten the Black Widow movie. But it would take until Phase 4 for that to happen. And
Really?
it's because some people at Marvel felt that female led superhero movies would not do well.
Oh god damn it.
Yeah. But then Wonder Woman came out. And that movie did really well.
Wow, I'm not surprised.
But it's disappointing that that DC got it before Marvel did. DC rarely wins, but in
I'm
this DC rarely wins, but in this case they won.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed in Marvel, honestly.
They dropped the ball, and their first female-led superhero movie was Captain Marvel. That didn't do so hot.
Oh, ew.
Black Widow was better.
Uh,
Still wasn't good, but it was better.
do you think it would have been a lot better if it released when it was supposed to?
I think a lot of people would say yes. It would have felt better. There are still some issues with it, regardless, but it wouldn't have felt so weird if it released when it was supposed to.
Hmm. And Captain Marvel was just really, I don't know the right word, but like really catty about it, you know?
Yeah, I didn't like Captain Marvel, and we'll eventually get to that movie. I'm hoping the Marvels is better, because I enjoy Miss Marvel, and Photon's cool, I guess.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, because the actor of, I know this is like hot news when it, all this stuff came out, but like, um, the actor for Captain Marvel was like, this is a woman's movie. If you're a man, this movie is not for you.
I think it's more like
Don't
she was
see it.
telling men, like, it wasn't just not see it. Although some people say she never told men not to go see it. At the very least, she told them not to review it,
Uh,
which is just like, no, anyone can review a movie. And we can call
yeah,
out
just look
bad
at what we're
reviews.
doing.
Yeah, and we can call out bad reviews for being bad reviews. Looking at you, IGN.
Or we can call out bad movies for also being bad movies.
Yeah. I'm also gonna, also in that same vein, I'm looking at you, Cinema Sins.
I would hardly call that reviewing.
They do put in
I'd hardly
actual,
call they even.
they do put in
Hmm?
actual criticisms into their videos, but a lot of the times they're just misunderstanding something. That said, they did do a really good video recently, and I do want you to
Hmm.
watch it, but you need to actually see the movie first. We'll
You
get
know,
there.
I don't believe that's relevant right now, so I'm just gonna ask you off screen.
Yeah, it'll be later. But they did an amazing movie. Oh my god. Anyway, now the thing that disappoints me though is that, like, yeah, it's gonna take like 4 separate movies to fully deal with the fallout of Civil War. The next MCU movie we are covering is Doctor Strange. This has nothing to do with Civil War.
Ha!
And you know what the next movie after that is?
What?
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Fuck yeah.
And you know what the next movie after that is?
Taking a shot in the dark, Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah, it's Spider-Man Homecoming, which is only
Yes.
tangentially related to Civil War and doesn't really deal with the fallout.
And the next movie after that.
Thor Ragnarok.
So, I actually finally realized, thanks to a certain game, I now know what Ragnarok means.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's going to be something. Of course, I knew what Ragnarok meant before because like I know a decent amount about Norse mythology. And no, for those listening, I don't just mean inside of Marvel. Like, I actually know a decent amount about Norse mythology. But,
So it's basically Thor, end of the world.
yeah, pretty much. So it's gonna be
Oh,
fun.
I'll be. Wait, hold on a second. All four of those movies, except Spider-Man, does Thor deal with the
No,
end of this?
the four movies that deal with
Hmm.
the fallout from Civil War are Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Black Widow.
Uh,
So, yeah.
well, can't wait to see those movies.
And Black Panther and Infinity War are, well, and Ant-Man and the Wasp are all back to back.
Interesting.
So it's going to take us a while to get to actually seeing the fallout from this movie.
God, hope I don't forget things about this movie. I am looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the things that you really need to remember, Cap and Tony fell out hard. The Sokovia Accords exist. That's it.
Wait, really? That's it?
I mean, Cap and Tony fell out hard. Sokovia Accords exist. Hawkeye and Ant-Man were arrested. That's also important.
Hmm. Well, I thought they got broken out of jail again.
No, not
Huh.
not them. No, uh, we will find out where they are later. But right now, they are imprisoned. So yeah, I do think there is some magic that they reached here where people are still debating this movie years later. Um, Even after Marvel has already given their in-universe answer. Um,
Let me guess, because Sokovia Accord dad.
we'll find out later.
Well, that's my guess, because that's just how I feel like the movies are going.
But I think the big deal to come to here is that there's not really an Avengers team anymore.
Hmm.
And
God,
that
the one thing that Shield, one positive thing that Shield did before it died, is now also dying.
and since Thor and Hulk are both off-world, I guess I'll say it here. This movie pretty much kind of subtly nods to the fact that Banner probably wouldn't agree with the Accords. And in the
I don't know what
comics,
Thor.
in the
Sorry,
comics,
what?
in the comics during this arc, Thor declared that since he is a god, the Accords don't apply to him.
You know, yeah, that's relatable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's also a foreign prince, so there's that too.
Yeah, I never would have thought that. I think they mentioned, where is Thor right now? And the only thing I could think of is, you don't own Thor, though.
Yeah, it was like I don't know that whole line where it's like, can you explain where Thor and Banner are right now? And they're like, no. If I misplaced a couple of nukes, there'd be consequences. Like, yeah,
I'm
but your
sorry.
nukes aren't sentient beings that can just get up and walk away.
It's also, um, you know, Thor, his home world is not even the world that we are, Earth.
You know, it's
Of course
funny.
he's gonna go back, pop at home, a bit.
It's funny because during a decent chunk of this movie, well, during a decent chunk between Dark World and Thor Ragnarok, he is actually on Earth.
Well, right now he's researching Infinity Stones, right?
Yeah, um, there's a lot going on. I just know that between Dark World and Ragnarok, he does spend a decent amount of time on Earth.
How good is Thor Ragnarok?
It is really good. Easily the best Thor movie.
Even Thor 4.
I mean, Thor 4 is hated by a lot of people. I love it. I think it's the second best Thor movie. But most people and myself say Thor Ragnarok is easily the best Thor movie.
Okay. Something to look forward to. But I think we've gone a little bit farther than I expected.
Yeah, this was a longer episode than I thought it would be too. So I mean, I've said pretty much all I want to say. So I guess I'll get into the critic ratings. So IMDb gives this movie a 7.8 out of 10. I guess they thought it had too much water. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 90%, and Metacritic has it at 75%. 84% of Google users like this movie. Hold on,
So I was talking to.
before you
Sorry, what?
start, I also want to bring up another thing. This movie also does set up Zemo and his hatred for superheroes, in particular super soldiers. Keep that in mind. That will come
Interesting.
back later.
Okay. So I was talking about this movie before we started. I think I mentioned something about I was kind of getting over this movie, like the halfway point, like the actual oh, the Avengers are fighting against each other. But I don't know, I think I'm having a bit more perspective over because this movie can get people talking years after it released.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to respect it for that. That's something that only like really good media can deliver on.
Yeah. And I really like how like the heroes lose in this movie. Against
So I
a guy
guess
with no powers too.
I don't want to give this too high because I didn't feel that much attachment to it. But I have to give it its respect that it deserves. So I'm aiming at more of an 8.3.
I'm giving this movie an 8.8.
Okay.
And with all that being said, you can join us next week for some stuff which I will look at right now. And that stuff is, hold on, I'm having to scroll. I
I'm
scroll.
holding everything.
I scrolled too. Wait, I have scrolled too far twice. What the hell? Okay, next week is Zootopia and Amphibia season 2. Close enough.
Amphibians.
Yes, you can join us next month for Doctor Strange. But yeah, until
We have
then,
Doctor Strange. Where's Doctor Normal?
somewhere. Anyway, until next time, I've been Avery. That's been Lily, and we will be seeing you.